How's it going, everyone? We are back again. Week 5, DraftKings quarterbacks. Taking a look here. Jason Gilball checking it out here. What are we looking at? What's your overall vibe of this week? Scale of 1 to 10.
It's like a 9.
A 9.
There's a
Okay.
there's a ton of quarterbacks you can go with.
Yeah, and you kind of like the way roster construction's working out with them.
Yeah, I think so. Because I'll talk about a couple guys here that you can pay up for, but also get exposure to them with their
Mhm.
weapons, which I like doing this week.
Certainly.
But yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can go.
I think that's an underrated part of things. You know, if you like a quarterback, sometimes you don't necessarily need to roster them if you get exposure to some of the receivers. First one up, Aaron Rodgers, 7,700 against the Giants. Do you like this game? Do you not like this game? Do you like the Packers offense? What are you looking at here?
Yeah, I like this game a lot, and we'll talk about Eli Manning on the other side in a few minutes. But looking at Rodgers, 7,700, there's numerous guys you can pay up for. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger deserves to be in consideration as well at a similar price. But you look at the Packers, 27.5 team total. They're at home, going up against the Giants secondary that I don't find really all that intriguing. Football Outsiders ranks them in the bottom 10. Rodgers, through 3 games, averaging the third most fantasy points per game among quarterbacks, has 7 touchdowns. With Jordy Nelson back, I think that kind of has him in that elite form as we saw against Detroit. I just don't see any real way at home against this Giants defense. I think is going to be very inconsistent this year that he kind of falls and has a bad week.
I agree. That Vikings game kind of got people off him. Generally speaking, he was 5% owned in a lot of GPPs that next week. That is not the Aaron Rodgers. We know that Vikings team, is just dominant at this stage. So I'm not looking at that 1 week. I think we know what Aaron Rodgers is, and a healthy Jordy Nelson. This is all systems go for sure. The other guy, 7,500, coming back this week, Tom Brady. Hopefully won't be nude on the field. What are you looking at against the Browns?
If we get his North American self, that means he's going to have pants on and he's going to be throwing the ball all over this Browns secondary. That's not a good one. Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski, who might not be 100%, but I think with Martellus Bennett there, you know what? At this point, I don't know. You could put 2 gloves on a stick out there and Tom Brady will find a way to throw him a touchdown pass. It's just he's that good. The Cleveland defense allowing 21 DK points per game to opposing quarterbacks this year. I'm just looking at all these guys, and I think using them as a stack is a viable option. But, Martellus Bennett, not that expensive. Julian Edelman's not even that badly priced, so it's not like it's an expensive bunch to kind of pair some of them up with. Brady's one of those guys where I feel like this week, if you want to get exposure, you can use an Edelman, you can use a Bennett. If you want to roll the dice with Gronkowski and a GPP, you can do that. So not a must play for me, but I think if you still want to get exposure to this, over 4 touchdown team total, I like this passing game really as a whole.
I'm with you on that, on Edelman. I think that's where I'm going to be focusing most of my energy. But yeah, Brady's a great play. Gotta love this matchup for sure. In terms of, as you mentioned, though, he's not really a must play. I do like him in cash if you do go with Edelman, though. I think that's a really sneaky, way to go and really high floor. Andrew Luck versus the Colts, your first GPP option here. Assuming you're talking about stacking with Hilton, is that the direction you're headed there?
Yep. In terms of GPPs, let's look at Luck in comparison to Rodgers and Brady. He's 7,300. You got Rodgers, who's 400 more, Brady, who's 200 more. Roethlisberger's right there in consideration as well. I don't think people are going to be on Luck at all. I think coming back from London's going to be one thing. People might be a little bit worried, and I just think overall he sits in a combination of quarterbacks that have just been more consistent and have a better offense around him. But I like Luck with the combination of Dorsett and Hilton and GPPs. Over 25 team total. They're at home. Football Outsiders has Chicago ranked 26th in the pass rank there. Colts are going to be throwing the ball a ton. They're ranking 6th in pass attempts per game, 41. I just don't see any way that Luck comes out and, doesn't throw 300 yards. And I think, there is 300-yard potential there, plus 3 to 4 touchdowns. We know his upside. We saw that week 1 against Detroit. That's certainly there again. And, if you want to go and stack the Colts, I think it's a kind of a one way to go. If you're making multiple lineups, I want to get a Colts stack in there because, there's a lot of focus on the Steelers, a lot of focus on Green Bay. There's a lot of focus on Chargers, Raiders. I don't see a lot of kind of people paying attention to the Colts as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. And again, for the second straight week, I kind of don't mind like the Bears game, generally speaking. I kind of liked it last week. Obviously, things didn't end up going how, Kevin White gets injured, obviously now on IR, but, he was headed towards a nice game. Zach Miller, sneaky value. Again, I think there's a lot of correlation here, and, you know, it's two bad teams. And I think that could equal some fantasy points for some less than ideal players. So I think you're really looking at Hilton here. I love that stack. I think it's super sneaky. Eli Manning at 6K, probably not going to be as sneaky. I'm guessing there's some correlation here with Jordy and all that, but I mean, coming off a tough game against the Vikings, you're probably looking at them to rebound against the Packers here, right?
Yeah, I definitely am. And I think, if you're looking at a QB wide receiver opposing wide receiver one stack, this is the game where you can get really exposure to both sides. Because you can do Eli, OBJ, and Jordy Nelson. You can do Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson, OBJ. You can work that into lineups this week with all the value. But Manning at 6K, I think that's a really nice price tag for him. On the road at Green Bay, team total is pretty low, which is a little bit surprising, but Packers passing defense really hasn't been all that great. They rank, they're allowing 23 DK points per game so far through 3. Just with this matchup, I mean, overall, I think Manning's going to have to play from behind quite a bit or having to play catch up. Green Bay could be without Sam Shields as well, who didn't practice with a concussion. They already ranked 30th against wide receiver ones. Let's hope Odell Beckham has a little fun this week because, I mean, that could mean big things for the Giants.
So, and you kind of look at the archetype of players that have gone off against the Packers so far. I mean, obviously we had that huge Stephon Diggs game. And then, I mean, Marvin Jones as well. They're not, like, obviously Odell Beckham's a better athlete, but they're all similar players in that super speedy, super subtle with routes, and really solid athletes with good hands. So I think this is in a perfect spot, especially you look at Sterling Shepard. You look at a lot of their weapons fit really that archetype. So I think you can get a little fancy here with some of, your stacks, maybe throw a Sterling Shepard in there. But yeah, Odell Beckham, I mean, this could be the nut play right here.
Yeah, I'm looking for that rebound week. I think it's happening.
Yeah, I like that call. And I like it again. I didn't throw him in my, cheat sheet this week for DK, but I love this call. Brian Hoyer at 5,500 against the Colts. Again, I kind of like it.
I mean, look last week. I mean, Hoyer threw for over 300 yards. He got that 300-yard bonus on DK, threw 2 touchdowns. And it was even a matchup where the game flow didn't even force him to throw the ball that ton. I mean, Jordan Howard got a ton of touches on the ground, which if this week is how we kind of anticipate it going with the Colts getting up and kind of forcing the Bears to throw a little bit more, that bodes well for Hoyer. Obviously, the loss of Kevin White is a little bit disappointing, for that overall core. But Eddie Royal, who should step in and have a decent game. Zach Miller, it's a cheap stack. Alshon Jeffrey, who's not even completely healthy, is still a viable stacking option because I think his ownership is going to be low. But overall, I mean, you look at this Colts defense. Yes, they got Vontae Davis back. Does that really make a huge difference? Not really. They're still bad. You look at this team total for the Bears. I'm going to be chasing after pretty good with that passing game. The one thing that does toss a little bit of a different thing here is just because Eli Manning is only 500 more. So I'm curious if they just kind of cut into each other's ownership because both of them do have solid matchups.
I think Eli's going to steal a lot from Hoyer. So I guess I'll leave you off with this question. In terms of Alshon, do you feel comfortable stacking Hoyer with him, or are you just going with Eddie Royal and Zach Miller?
I like it in a GPP. I think my cash is going to be used with Miller. I think I'm going to be going Brian Hoyer and Miller because we touched on in the intro, it's the fact that, I can go Hoyer Miller and then get my exposure with Edelman, Jordy Nelson, Antonio Brown through those other passing games. So I think that's going to be the route I'm heading. But in terms of stacks and stuff, I do like guys like Luck, Eli. And if I can grab a Rodgers in cash, I'll feel fine with. But if I can come down to Hoyer, there's really no shame in doing that this week.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Eddie Royal, sneaky, not bad player. I think generally perceived as a bad player, not a bad player. So I think that's kind of what we're looking at here. These are generally speaking what I'm looking at as well. If you want to check out the article, definitely go to the site and check that out. As always, if you like what we're doing here on the YouTube channel, give us a like and subscribe. And as always, good luck with your rosters this week. We will see you guys in week 6.